Now call the meeting of the Carbon County Board of Commissioners to order. Please rise for a moment of silence, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, be with us today as we meet. Grant us the wisdom to know what we must do, the will to want to do it, the courage to undertake it, the perseverance to continue to do it, and the strength to complete it. We ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of constituting the accuracy of written minutes. Tapes are reused, eliminating recorded records of these proceedings. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held August 25th, 2022.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Approval of the minutes of the public hearing held on August 25th, 2022 on behalf of the Carbon County Hospital Authority regarding the proposed issuance of tax-exempt bonds for the benefit of the Lehigh Valley Health Network Incorporated.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning county business at this time? Yes, sir. State your name and where you're from on purpose.
My name is John McArdle. I'm the chairman and president of Carbon County Firemen Association as well as the Fire Chiefs Association. I'm here today as a representative for the training facility team. We've been working to put our burn building and police facility together, and I'm here today first of all to for awareness purposes that we are planning a dedication on September 11th at 1 p.m. and during the event it's going to be a tribute and memorial service to be held for those who lost their life as a result of 9/11 attacks of 2001. Following the service, the dedication of the Fire and Police Training Facility will be dedicated. The vision of these two facilities has finally become to a reality, and we applaud this board and previous serving commissioners who have been part of the dream who made this a reality. For this, we're profoundly appreciative, and since the inception of 2008, some of us had dedicated a great deal of time and effort in planning and designing these buildings. This has truly been a team effort. However, one individual has stood out as a leader who has spent countless hours procuring the funding, contractors, permits throughout the process. Our committee has often contemplated and truly believe it's been Wayne's dedication and efforts that this project would have not come to fruition. Therefore, we are, on behalf of the committee, to respectfully recommend that this facility be dedicated in the honor of Wayne E. Notstein. His experience, abilities, efforts, and pride in this project are just a few of his attributes that have made the concept of the design of this facility. However, it has been his passion to oversee the project from start to finish. And from the beginning, his thoughts were that we were going to train the responders and better protect the citizens of Carbon County. Therefore, we believe it's both fitting and proper to commend Wayne with a bronze plaque and dedicate the training facility in his honor. We trust you'll agree with our recommendations and consider this request. While we know Wayne's humbleness keeps him silent and uncomfortable, we know he's grateful. Again, we respectfully request a favorable decision. Thank you.
Okay. Any other guests concerning county business? Okay, we'll move on.
I'll move to modify the agenda to add one de minimis motion in regards to the statement that Chief McArdle mentioned. Do I have a second?
No, second.
Well, yeah, if you want to make
So
a
I'll go ahead
I
to-
can't stop you from making a statement.
Right, so I'll go ahead, I'll make the motion to accept the recommendation and name it as indicated by Chief.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
No,
Hope you'll abstain on this one.
after they told me what they were doing this past week, I opposed it. I don't feel that I should be named for a simple reason. It took a great deal of people, committee meetings since 2008, like John said, a bunch of great contractors that have worked with us, including the architects, the firemen, and one of the construction managers is the fireman, and the contractors themselves have been great to work with. It was not because of me, it was because of the dedication of the many people and the boards of commissioners, previous and current, that have supported this, to me, extremely important project, because maybe not all of you realize that we are facing a crisis as far as volunteers. Our numbers have been dwindling a great deal over the years. You see more automatic mutual aids because of the lack of manpower, the commitment it takes for our emergency responders. And I thank you. I appreciate it. I know you, the people I work with when we're out in the calls, and I know a lot of those people combined on that committee. Some are newer, some we've lost a few over the years that moved on to other things, but I thank you, gentlemen and ladies, that commit your time to this project and your commitment to your communities, the emergency response. It's not only fire, it's police, it's CMS, it's county employees, adult, juvenile probation, public defender's office, corrections officers, that all are gonna benefit from this facility. And we had a great deal of discussion over the last months on, we got a lot to do yet, policy, procedures, et cetera, but the possibilities there we have there, this will be one of the very, very few in the state, especially for the smaller counties, that have included police training in their facility. And they were up there today putting in the partition walls to change things around, give different scenarios. And we have the sponsors of our booklet we have for next week. We had a great turnout, a great fundraiser for the project to buy the much needed equipment. But I am humbled, and enough said. Let's move on.
Our next item is the opening of bids. CDDB charge project, Mahoning Township Street Improvements, Center Road, reconstruct and pave Woodlawn Drive to Maple Drive, fiscal years 2019, 2020, 2021. First bidder is Recon Construction Services out of York, Pennsylvania. The amount bid, $222,815.
And we do have security for 10%.
The next bidder, H&K Group of Skip Pack, Pennsylvania. The total amount bid, $255,458.98.
there is a bond for 10%.
And our last bidder is Lehigh Asphalt Paving and Construction Company of Pa.Cmwith, Pennsylvania. The total amount bid, $229,320.
And there is security for 10% of the bid.
Move that we table for a period of 2 weeks to assess to ensure it's the lowest priced responsible bid.
I'll second that.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The report of executive sessions held,
There were none.
the department reports, budget transfers,
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
There are no supplemental appropriations. Expenditures, approval of payroll check numbers 74563 through 74608, and direct deposit check numbers 6045127 through 6045564 for the payroll paid through the payroll fund checking account for all county funds totaling $647,932.39. This is the payroll dated August 26, 2022.
Motion to ratify.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Approval of check numbers 230860 through 230948 for expenditures through the general fund clearing account totaling $760,540.93.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes, with the exception of check 230895 in the amount of $2,225. Contrary to Article 18 of the County Code Contract, Section 1801, Commissioners, sole contractors for county. Nowhere in the code does it say any row officer can disperse funds not authorized by the commissioners nor obligate funds in their name. In this particular instance, there was a failure to provide appropriate oversight to a contractor that was delegated to the row officer. Therefore, he exceeded his legal authority, committing county funds to a disbursement not authorized by the Board of Commissioners. Notably also, this was forwarded to the treasurer prior to a public vote for disbursement. So again, I'll go ahead and yes with the exception of that check.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes with the exception of said check.
Mr. Notstein?
Correct, with the exception of that check.
Next item is the treasurer's report.
Move to accept.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Ratify the authorization to open the following new accounts. Fund 1190, Animal Shelter Donations, and Fund 2196, the Opioid Settlement Fund.
Motion authorized.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. At this time, we'll recess the Commissioners' Board of meeting to, and we'll recess the Commissioners' meeting and now call to order the monthly meeting of the salary board.
Okay, our first item is approval of the minutes of the salary board meeting held August 4th, 2022, and reconvened on August 18th, 2022.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning salary board business at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on.
The report of executive sessions held.
There was one executive session held on August 29th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
I move to amend the agenda. I'd like to move to amend the agenda order and have item 14, change the rate salaries under the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners at the Carbon County Courthouse Complex as per Exhibit A, move to the first item. This is the largest dollar commitment, and it is approved since it makes up over 55% of the potential impact of the measures coming forth. It could impact decisions that are made. It'll also clarify positions of all voting members up front in regards to the forthcoming votes. And particular to that motion, we do have one non-commissioner who will be voting, and I want to ensure I understand his position on this prior to moving forward. Do I have a second?
I don't have a second, but I think once we get started here, I'd like to make a statement in all the positions.
One second. Motion dies for lack of a second. So our next item will continue with courts. Judge Nanovic?
Thank you. I'm gonna make a motion in a moment to increase the rates and compensation of court employees by 2 steps. I wanna make a brief statement before that, because this is somewhat unusual at this time of year to do this. We have very hardworking, dedicated employees in the court, and I think we do throughout the county. Right now, they're struggling, and I hope and believe the commissioners recognize that as well. We're dealing with difficult financial times. The rate of inflation recently, I believe, was indicated to be 9.1. More recently, it might be in the 8% rate. And the effect of that is to basically decrease the buying power of employees who are at fixed compensation and salaries. I think it's important that we remain competitive to retain and to recruit employees. I know there's been, I believe, employment of a work study. To my knowledge, it hasn't been completed. I don't know when it's going to be completed. I think it's important that this not be delayed longer to at least help employees who are struggling. And that's what's behind the motion I'm going to make, is to help them support themselves and their families. As I said, the rate of inflation recently was 9.1. The 6%, which is basically 2 steps, is not gouging the county. It's trying to help them maintain similar buying power to what they had at the beginning of this year. So with that, it's the motion of myself. Change the rates and salaries of the court offices effective September 1st of this year, 2022, as listed on exhibits J1 through J6.
And I will second that on discussion. Judge Nanovic, I agree with you 100%. Everyone is valuable, but I have a little bit of a different view of this. This salary board agenda, 6%, mid-year increase recommended by the row offices and courts, circumvents the year budget process without any concern of financial impact passed on to the taxpayer. January 22, most employees received a 3% annual increase. The 6% proposed today is 9% to the taxpayers in 1 year. Now, I think we always wanted, everybody always came into me, and I'll get to that a little bit later on in this here, but the 6% proposed income increase is based on current employee salaries. An employee currently making $11.38 receives 69 cents, okay? Putting them to $12.07. An employee currently at $41.77 receives $2.54, putting them to $44.31. This doesn't solve our problem of hiring, retaining employees, or making it fair throughout the salary scale. In fact, it makes it worse, making it bigger between top and bottom. According to our financial advisor, a 6% increase in annual salaries to non-union courts and row officers poses $175,000 plus $38,000 for FICA, workman's comp, pension for a total of $213,000. And as of Monday, this has escalated. And I don't mind things escalating like this if we're doing it for a reason. But what winds up happening here, if you throw everybody into the mix, our budget is $15.4 million. 6% across the board is $850,000 to $900,000, depending on the actual count of numbers that we have. This is more than $500,000. A $75,000 house, their taxes will go up approximately $40. And I sit here, I was the one that always said, I don't like the salary study, we can sit down and work this out. I'm open to any office coming in here and making a rational decision at budget time. We can have the county advisor, hey, we got this amount of money, that's your part of the pie. If the salary study comes back, now again, we had the salary study, we had a meeting with them, and supposedly by the end of the month, September of this year, not next year, I was always pushed off, we should have that. So we could figure that out and look at it ourselves, which employees, we can adjust, and then go back to this salary study if it's done by September, and we can make a rational decision on behalf of the taxpayers and the employees. And it's like I go into everybody's office here, and every time I go in, my lower wage employees are looking for other jobs. I'm losing qualified employees. I have recruitment problems, and grade structure is wrong. I know that. But the word out there is that I'm the deciding vote, okay? I just want to remind everybody, there's approximately 14 people involved in this vote. I'm one out of the 14. Every motion that's made here changes. Every row office gets a vote. So don't put it on me like I'm the deciding vote, because my deciding vote, I would go to help everybody. And, you look at this across the whole thing, and this, what's proposed here today, to me, it's a hidden agenda. There's nothing on here, the percentage to what it's going to cost. There's no backing up to the taxpayers on what we're spending the money for. But when you look at this 6%, and I go back to what everybody's saying, and it's not the $12 person. I see people that are paid $19 that are managing a whole fleet of people, 8, 9 people, and we allow this to only pay them $17 or $18? I don't understand this here. And I'm just talking about like a hidden agenda to me. I come out and I pretty much tell everybody way it goes. I don't hide nothing. Now, on your agenda here, there's an agenda. Okay. Law clerk shows what grade, what step. Everyone has shown what grade, what step. But all of these motions are change of rate. What is the change of rate? Now, I have this here, what the change of rate is, what everybody gets. And there is another one where everybody goes to, but I'm not going to sit here and give somebody at the bottom $1,255 and somebody at the top $4,622. What are we giving the ones at the bottom? Enough gas to make it to work, but we're not going to give them any food money? I just don't understand this. And I've been preaching on this for a year. I didn't like the salary study. We could work things out, and it comes to this. Within 2 weeks, we work on the budget for 4 months. In fact, we asked Jeff, what we need. This is a 4-month process, and this is a tax increase. When you start getting $800,000, and you're not even showing the taxpayers what they're getting, or it's like, okay, we just went and we just made it easy. We threw 6% at it, and we're worsening the problem. We're not even coming close to fixing it. Not when you give somebody at the bottom 69 cents Are you really kidding me that that's what it comes to? So I can walk out of this room and I'm trying to help every one of your employees. Are you gonna help them? And that's all I have for my statement.
May I call for the vote?
No,
No.
discussion hasn't
No.
ended.
Discussion, yeah.
Judge Nanovic, can you tell me what is the current budgeted amount of salaries for the elements or departments you're representing with this motion? Can you tell me what the impact financially will be of the motions that are being made?
I can tell you that what the impact will be if the motion does not pass, because we've been living with it for over a year and a half. And the impact is we're losing qualified employees, we can't retain them, it's causing pressure on other employees, and we have an extreme difficult morale problem in this county,
Okay.
which I would hope the commissioners recognize.
So-
And I would tell you as well,
Sure.
that the motion I've made is to basically keep uniform relative salaries in place.
Okay, so
It's
I
not
under,
to address individual salaries, changing the grades, changing job descriptions, is to keep in place uniformly across the board what they're making now relative to one another.
so I understand the motion you are making, you cannot tell us what the financial impact will be on the budget.
I've told you what the financial impact will be with respect to each salary and compensation. It's an easy computation to make, and I suspect you've made it, and it's there.
So I will bring up the point that the office that has the highest turnover and attrition rate has had the highest salary increases in the past 12 to 18 months. That's Children and Youth Services. So that invalidates the premise that you make about retention.
That's an unfair comparison. You're not comparing apples with apples.
and-
You have different positions, you have different jobs.
And again, I was simply making a statement,
This
this was not a question, it was a statement, thank you. So I find while there may be perhaps sincerity hidden somewhere behind the intentions in this motion and subsequent motions that are gonna be made, the fact is, this is clearly, and Commissioner Arner articulated, fiscally irresponsible to allocate funds that actually do not exist. There is no historical precedence for mid-year COLA increases. I went back as far as I could find no precedence for such a mid-year, and it may occur and there may be out there. Doesn't necessarily make it right. We are unfortunately with this, as Commissioner Arner correctly stated, basically at this time voting for at least a $500,000 tax increase by any positive votes along the line that is suggested. That's without due consideration to the 14,000 senior citizens who have difficulties already paying their property tax bills, the 7,100 residents of Carbon County who are living in poverty. Are the courts prepared to cease operations for amount of time to cover the deficit of this year if the $180,000 plus are committed to this?
You want to answer that question?
Yes, that was a question, not rhetorical.
It appears as though the question answered itself. We are dealing with three separate branches of government. This county has an obligation to fund the courts to make sure the court can operate. If the county defaults on its constitutional obligation, there can be repercussions. So no, the court is not going to cease. The court has a constitutional obligation to remain in place, to be open to the public, to hear cases, to decide cases. The court will not cease. If the court is unable to operate, that's on the county.
It also has an obligation to operate within its budget. And what it's trying to do now is exceed its approved budget amount.
No, it's trying to take into account extraordinary circumstances which were not anticipated at the time the budget was originally set. It's trying to keep in place compensation for employees that allow them to live.
So I know there's a significant desire to help our employees here. I will ask you and the other row officers, are you willing to offset your own salaries to make this a viable option for your employees? Will you join me in committing 10% of my salary for the remainder of my time here as a commissioner to support that. I don't see one yay.
Yes, I would.
All right, so
I
all-
actually.
all of you,
No, wait,
please
no,
bring,
actually,
all of
I
you, please
actually-
bring your checks to this out. We can table it here for 1 week. We'll go ahead and reconvene, and all of us bring our checks at 10% of our annual salary.
But I also feel, they're gonna talk, I'm gonna speak, okay? Your mismanagement of the funds, since you've been in office, have always fell on our employees. Okay? What have you done to bring industries in here to help offset the taxes? What have you done to build our county better? You just go out, you bid a job out in the parking lot, problems, issues, more money's paid out. Building a building, problems, more money's paid out. Those are your decisions. Those are monies that you're approving to be paid. But in the end, when it comes to our employees, you grandstand up there that they're not worth the 6% to at least have a livable expense, that they can go out and live. So I sit here and I'm like, every single time we come to the salary board, you bash our employees and say that they're not worth any money because we don't have money for it. And it's gonna cost the taxpayers. But it also, look at how money's spent throughout this whole entire county.
You know, Gene, I want to tell you a little bit something. I've never bashed any of the employees here. I come to your office and I never did that. I don't know where you're making that accusation against me, because I don't do that. I'm looking to get people money. And I just want to give some stats, and I want to actually apologize maybe to one of the row officers, Bob Miller. He's not here, so I don't know, maybe you can call him why he wasn't included in this. But court administration, okay, if you want to give numbers, there's 16 employees. Now, I don't know if one's there or not, or you have to hire somebody, but one of them, out of them 16, is under $15. When you go to the magistrates, adult probation, juvenile probation, domestic relations, has 32 employees. 16 of them are under $15. When I go to the row offices, there's 50. 23 of them are below $15 an hour. And then in our department, and ours is a little bit different because we have a lot of part-time, seasonal, so it's really hard to depict on or figure that out. I mean, ours is probably the toughest one. And we have 165 employees. 95 of them are under $15. You know, I'm going here, you know, you're presenting a tax increase. If that's what's presented, let's fix this problem. Do you think these people that are paid $12 an hour, they're gonna stay on that Titanic? They're gonna jump ship before it sinks. And you keep going like this and get people further apart, you're gonna keep losing people and losing them. And that's my point. Why are we, you know, you wanna make everything easier, compare everybody the same, but you're giving other people more money. You know, the only way to correct something is like this is put money at different areas. 6% is not solving anything, nothing. It's making the problem worse. So I don't like it when somebody comes in here and attacks me. I go around and I realize these people. I realize, like I said before, there's people that are getting $19 an hour that should be at the 23. But everybody's willing to just throw 6% at it and it's solid, and it's not.
Okay, so now you said for how many years have you been here?
Gene,
I'm
you
saying-
just
I'm
keep
saying
debating
that-
on what, that's my
No,
opinion.
I'm not, I
No,
understand, but
no.
I'm just saying, we've taken no steps to correct it. We have a human resources department. They could easily go out and done the survey by contacting all the counties.
And again,
what they're paying,
I
and
go
then
back
make
to it
this
again,
structure.
I was the one that
But in
don't
so
want
many
it.
years, we keep hearing the same thing over and over, and again, the people who it hurts is our employees. And they're very good employees, and I'm so
And you
blessed with
keep
my
hearing
staff.
from me, I wanna help everybody, and nobody hears me. But like I said, there's 14 votes gonna happen today. Do you wanna go with me and help, or do you wanna stay the problem and create more of a problem? That's the bottom line.
Question here, my comments. Like Chris just brought up, without the people, what about those 14,000 seniors? Without the employees, how can we provide services? How can we continue to conduct our courts to our children and youth and our caseworkers, our dispatchers, et cetera, all our employees? It's like anywhere else. We're living in difficult times, and sometimes they're drastic times, and we have to take drastic measures to maintain our workforce, a qualified workforce, to present the services to our constituents, and that comes at a cost. I heard what you said about how many times you said our people were underpaid, et cetera. I tried to warn you last month at the salary board that approving for one office would create problems for the rest of the employees in this county, the elected officials, et cetera. I tried to warn you then. I tried to warn you back here, the end of last year, that the unknown in the upcoming years, that we should consider maybe a quarter or $500,000 raise to offset whatever came up. And look what happens. Never in the history of this county, to my knowledge, has there ever been such a cost of living increase. Never has there been an issue for all levels of government and industry in getting employees to work. We're in drastic times, drastic conditions. We have to provide services, and we need to move on. I understand, I know we got problems financially, but we're gonna have to deal with it. Because if not, we're gonna fail for sure. So last week, when that motion was made, it created a problem, and I tried to warn you, but no one listened.
And now, and going back to that was an altogether different motion what we're making here today.
Yeah.
That motion was, somebody came in for a raise and just thought the person could get a raise, and it was passed. And I think even you said you made a mistake on that. Now, the other motion had justification. In fact, I even asked HR, is this right? Yeah, you're right. They came in, there was an increase, there was a adjustment in duties. So to me, that was presented to me, that was a case. That was all right with me. Now you're bringing that up, that one case that I thought was the way I thought it should be, to be fair to everybody. Now I'm put out because it's my fault, Wayne. You know what, you start on this stuff here, you've been here for 20 years and the wages are still at $11 or $12 an hour, if you wanna start going there. Because I'm here to help everybody. And like I said, if everybody wants to go along for the ride and help everybody, I'm all on board with that. We can have numbers together there, and if it's gonna be a tax increase, I'm not raising taxes to make it worse. That's the bottom line.
All right.
And you don't need to blame it on me for me trying to help.
Legal question for the solicitor. Does the county code authorize the salary board to commit funds in excess of the budget amount for the year?
Not to my knowledge.
So again, clarify, so the salary board does not have the authority to commit funds beyond the budgeted amount
Likewise.
on behalf of the
Not to my
commissioners?
knowledge.
All right, so then the point of order is, it seems like what's proposed here in these motions exceeds the current budgeted amount. There's no authority for the salary board to move forward, I would argue.
And I would ask the question, is there sufficient funds in the contingency fund or the operating funds for this county? You voted in last year to spend down the fund balance.
Yep.
So, to me, this is legitimate, because now we are spending down the fund balance within the budget.
That
Not
spend-
borrowing
that-
to do
that-
this.
That money was allocated to specific line items.
Not the fund balance, was not.
Yes, it was. That was included as part of the totality of the budget. It wasn't just an additional $2 million that were being placed in the contingency. It was being used to cover costs that were needed in lieu of a tax increase. I believe we went from probably 9 million to 7 million in the carryover funds.
Any further discussion?
I would like to add something. I'm sitting here listening to this going back and forth with everyone and tensions rising. What I'm hearing from commissioners that, Commissioner Arner in particular, he's asking us to wait on this because then it could be properly addressed as COLA would be at the end of the year, such as a bonus or included in, so they're asking to wait a few weeks to address the issues of the 6% increase, to include it in the budget of 2023, so it can be properly allocated, that the county doesn't look at a deficit going forward, that the monies aren't there right now to support these motions. Am I correct on that, Rocky?
I would say, I mean,
So you're saying
when
that-
budget time comes, and this tax increase is gonna be in the newspaper, it's gonna be there, county commissioners raised taxes 6%. Are we completely responsible for that? You know, I think you should weigh on it, everybody should weigh in on it.
So you're basically.
You're the ones that are telling me that your employees are not paid enough. I agree with it. But why are we putting this on a salary board agenda when we're starting to work on the budget now? Like, I got numbers from Jeff already to try to figure some stuff out here. Anybody can walk in and say, okay, my employee here, they need this. And I go back to, it's not the lowest paid, it's not the mid, it's not the top one. It's an overall thing here. I see everybody. I mean, I'm not even saying this, like I said, this guy that's the person that's $44. Maybe we are paying him too low. I don't know.
So you're basically
know.
stating that the salary study should be done come the end of September.
Well, that's
here.
what we were told
Okay.
last week, that it was supposed to be done by
If-
by the end of this month.
If it is not, is the salary board willing to consider this 6% increase and incorporate that in our 2023 budget due to the fact of waiting a few weeks to make this motion?
Well, I mean, you're presenting 6%. That's a dollar amount, okay? If you're presenting that, I don't want to just throw money at the wall and see where it sticks.
Right.
I mean, I want to help your people. I mean, some of these departments I see, there's like 3 out of the 5 that are under $13. You know, we even have people here in our office that, like, are executive secretaries for like $13. I mean, come on. We got to get to reality. And I said, if these motions pass, you'll probably never correct it, because now we're going too far away, and I'm willing to do it. You know, if yous come in here, we can go through the whole process of the budget, and if that's what you're recommending to us, if your group would need this X amount of dollars, you have 8 people, another one has 10 people, okay, that's X amount of dollars that you have. Now, we're making a choice on 6% that might not even be correct. I mean, you're not correcting the problem. I don't know if anybody gets that. We're throwing 6%, which anybody can add that up. 6% on $1 is 60 cents, or 6 cents. And then you're going, and what's gonna happen now when we start the budget process? Are we gonna look for another motion to add another 3 on? I don't know. You know, where is this going? We gotta correct this problem within this next budget for 2023. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for anything less or more. I just want to try and straighten this problem out. And like I said, I'm willing to do it. And I feel this is not the route to go. I mean, it's just gonna, like I said, there's some departments that have 5 people that are under $13 an hour. Do you think they're gonna stay here? And then say, oh, well, you get benefits. Well, they should have a little bit more than benefits.
So you're willing to do it and take action. Commissioner Notstein, would you be willing to do the same? To correct to make a conscious effort to correct the problem come 2023 budget?
It's gonna have to be addressed according to the salary study.
Okay.
That's a different story. You're talking annual, you're talking current. They're 2 different things here,
And-
2 different subjects.
And the salary
Or
study is not gonna
issues.
be correct, okay? I can guarantee you that.
It won't.
There's gonna be people that aren't
Take a
happy.
while.
But we know, if it comes by the end of the month, you know the value of your people that are working. I mean, and then like I said, I'm not dividing somebody up who's the best, who you like the best. But it's like we could work off of this, and if you think somebody else is in your department, I mean, like we look at aging, like this person is a manager, supervisor, like what do they even do? There's not, there's so many different categories here. one could be working with 3 people with highly, sensitive, documents. And then another one could be with 20 people. I don't know. I think we need a collaboration between all the departments and not just sit here and say, okay, 6%'s fine. And it's not. It's not in my opinion, and I don't see where you think, where anybody thinks it is. Because it's not. When you throw percentage, it's not helping, it's helping a few, but it's not helping the overall people. So, and that's the only thing I'm asking for.
Commissioner Lucas Savage, would you be willing to do the same, to consider rectifying, conscious effort of rectifying our salary issue that we have in this county?
Each motion will be voted on based upon its own merits.
I'm speaking about, come our 2023 budget,
Each motion will be voted on its own merit,
okay?
right? Understand, we have 4 to 5 more months of inflation data to come in, 4 months before we even publish the draft budget. So who knows what inflation's gonna be? It could be 12 or 13%, or it could be 2 or 3%. So again, going against historical precedents puts us in a position of the unknown versus working from the position of the known, and that's what the budget process allows us
And
to do.
Controller Severcek, would you be willing to make that conscious effort as well? You are part of the executive salary board.
I would consider it.
Donna, did you want to say something?
I did. So you're saying the 6% across the board would create too broad of a spectrum between employees?
Well, and that's what I said, like even, and I go into your office, I see that lady every day in there, the one that you say that is underpaid. How am I gonna go down to her and say, I gave somebody $400 or $4,000 a month, and she gets 1,000?
Okay, so
And that's my only point.
but my question is, would you consider a dollar amount across the board?
Well,
A
I
dollar,
think that's
$1.25.
where I'm getting at. Like, we should have it, can we pair it up that it's $1 amount per employee? You know what I mean? And then, say if you have a department that has 10 employees, so you got $10 an hour to figure out there. You come to me and say, okay, this one needs $1.10, this one might need 90 cents. Like I said, by throwing this at it, and that would be the rational on how to fix this. Throwing percentage is not gonna help anything.
You're saying to bring people closer to minimum wage.
Well, and
The lower end spectrum.
yeah, and I'm not saying that somebody has to go to $15, but God, the people that are making $11 an hour, we're giving them 12. I mean, they could at least creep up closer to 15. And like I said, there's people in departments that I see that I'm almost shocked of what they have to carry on their shoulder, and they're under $20 an hour. So I think we can figure this out. But like I said, this is a tax increase to me. So if we're gonna do it, let's sit down together, figure it out, and make everybody happy. And like I said, not everybody's gonna be happy. There's gonna be somebody that's not. And I think Wayne mentions that all the time. But we're not helping the situation by this percentage. And I mean, it's basic math. The more money you make, the more money you're gonna get in a raise. And now are we going back to being a corporation? I mean, we're responsible for the taxpayers' money. And it's not like we can throw anything around anywhere. Let's get together and try to figure this out, and that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to say, okay, we're gonna reduce the people at the top $10. No. You know what I mean? That's not my point. We have to progress this into a solution, not a problem.
In the future, I would be open to a flat rate across the board for higher and lower, because it is correct in that respect. Why should someone at $20 get 60 cents and somebody at 10 get 30? Those people at $10 an hour needed a lot more than the others. I mean, let's look at that for the future, for maybe perhaps 23 or whenever. So, can we call roll?
Call for the vote?
And is anybody open to that? Because my vote's gonna be no on this, because I think everybody heard my view. Is everybody else's vote gonna be no, so we can correct this? Because once you get beyond this point, there might not be no return. So what?
Are you making a motion to just do $1 amount across the board for everybody, like the $1 right now? Is that what you're,
No, we can't because we're committed to the budget now. I'm committing, like, if you wanna go into the budget and you want people, cause first of all, it's, like I think the solicitor just said it, it's illegal for us to commit money now.
So you're asking to table this discussion
did you
of
discuss this?
the 6% COLA increase, table it for a few weeks so we're able
So,
to address our 2023
no, there's a
budget?
motion on the floor,
Yeah.
properly seconded, to change the rates and salaries of the court offices effective September 1, 2022, as listed on Exhibit J1 through J6. That's the motion that's on the floor. That has to be voted on. A call for the vote? Judge Nanovic?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No, the salary board has no legal authority to commit unbudgeted funds.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes, and if I recall correctly, you have done mid-year, year increases for such as children and youth, et cetera, so. Okay. Move on.
It's always nice to be first.
Save us a lot in the future, Ralph.
With that being said, I do have 3 additional motions, which I hope are not as controversial. And they are with respect to 3 separate employees to give anniversary increases, which has been the historical practice, I believe, of this county. So the first is to motion to change the salary of one law clerk from $41,423.20 per annum, which is a grade 18 step C, to $42,660.80 per annum, which is a grade 18 step D, effective as of September 27, 2022.
Second.
Quick question on that. With that, is that adjusted for this at 6% then? Okay,
It is, yes.
okay. Just so everyone understands.
Sure, I understand, I appreciate that.
Judge Nanovic?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes,
Next motion is to change the rate of one lead judicial secretary from $23.74 per hour, which is currently at a grade 11 step P, to $24.44 per hour, a grade 11 step Q, effective as of September 18th, 2022.
Second.
Judge Nanovic?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes,
And the final motion is to change the rate of one chief juvenile probation officer from $33.98 per hour, a grade S 14, step K, to $35 per hour, a grade S 14, step L, effective as of October 2nd, 2022.
second,
Judge Nanovic?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes.
Thank you. I'm going to stay around for a little bit.
Clerk of Courts, Mrs. Boney?
Good morning. I would like to just say a few things before I make my motion. Yesterday, we received this from the Controller's Office, I believe everyone did. And I decided to take a look at my budget to see where we were at mid-year before going in and making these motions, because I do have concerns with the taxpayers having a huge increase. When I took a look at my budget, my office is the unfortunate office that has had several vacancies, therefore I do have quite a bit of my salary budget remaining. The motions that I will be making on the table on the floor today will in fact not affect an increase with the taxpayers. My budget is at 50%. With all the motions that I have slated to make, I will be coming under budget as well for this year's 2022 salary budget that I have allotted in my office. With that being said, I'd like to change the rate and salaries of the clerk of court's office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit R1.
We have a second. Hearing no second, the motion dies.
Okay. Change the rate of one second deputy from $14.13 per hour, grade 7, step E, to $14.55 per hour, grade 7, step F, effective October 4th, 2022.
Second, the question is is that within the line with 6% with all the other employees?
That's with the 6% added to it, it's not the 3% that was original for this year. I added the 6%.
So it is
to
in line with what the other row offices are requesting, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Since we're in discussion, Tyra, you made the comment it would have no, what you're requesting is 6% would not have an impact on taxpayers. That is a correct statement for perhaps this fiscal year, but it is committing the taxpayer to a commitment henceforth in follow-on of budget years. So I just want that to reflect the record.
Well, this particular motion is one that, Dawn, correct me if I'm
Well-
wrong, is, the second deputy is, routine, is it not?
It is, but not at those rates. 'cause
Okay,
the
what is,
second
do I have to
deputy-
make the motion on the routine increase?
The second deputy is currently at 1332,
Okay,
a 7C,
okay.
and a 7D is 1372.
Dawn, well, this motion has to be adjusted because
Right.
the first motion failed,
Right.
correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So my motion is, can you repeat that, Dawn?
Change the rate of 1 second deputy from 1332 per hour, grade 7, step C, to 1372 per hour, grade 7, step D, effective October 4th, 2022.
Okay, so I need to repeat that. Change the rate of one, second deputy from 1332 per hour, grade 7, step C, to 1372 per hour, grade 7, step D, effective October 4th, 2022.
Second.
And are there any others under the 1333 or?
Yes.
A lot of them? Okay.
Okay. Call for the vote. Mrs. Boney?
Yes?
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
I'm going to rescind my last motion, and I'm going to change that motion based on our conversation that we had in our executive meeting after the COLA meeting, which I had forwarded on to you, documentation supporting that. I'd like to change the rate of one first deputy from 1630, grade 5, step A, per hour, to 1798, grade 7, step A, effective September 1st, 2022.
Second.
And what was that again, 1630?
Can this person just get more than 6%?
No, this is due to our conversation, which I had forwarded to you based on
For the first deputy?
first deputy.
Correct, and what we were looking at doing, and I think we told you at that point in time that we I would like to table that until we hammer it out with the other row offices, because one row office does get more than the others. That is not fair, I feel. So I would request that we table this one until we hammer out the salaries for the other row offices as well, trying to make them equal.
Well, I don't wish to do that at this time based on the amount of, you can't compare apples to apples with the row offices because every row office is different with the amount of individuals one supervises and the amount of duties that are on that particular office. The motion that I'm making is 2 steps above, 2 grades above what some of the other row offices are. It's in line with another row office. And if you look at 2 of the other departments who supervise more than 9 people, they're at a grade, step 14. I'm only asking for this particular because of things that were taking place over the years that were not adjusted with the additional employees, the court order that was signed, and then by Supreme Court, it was amended for the duties and responsibilities of children, youth on this office, as well as having collections moved to this office back in 2005, and it was not corrected at that time.
Again, I strongly recommend we table this motion until we meet with all the first, that are row officers to correct this problem.
We're gonna move forward if you don't mind, just because I'd like to see how the vote would pan out.
Did we have a motion on the floor? Did you want to make the motion to table?
okay.
I don't think, okay.
Motion to table.
Go ahead.
Before I remember.
Motion
Yeah.
to table.
I'll make a motion to, well, make a motion to table.
The original motion. Yeah, it was.
Right,
It
so
was.
Motion
it
to
has to
table
be-
intervenes. Motion to table intervenes.
I'll second the motion to table.
Okay, so this is the motion to table.
Right. Okay.
Mrs. Boney,
No.
Mr. Severcek,
Yes.
Mr. Arner,
No.
Mr. Lukasevich,
No.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Go to a vote.
Okay, so now we're back to the other motion
Original motion.
that was first made.
The original motion changing grade 5A to grade 7A.
Yes. And we have your motion, and Commissioner Lukasevich, you made the second on that?
Right.
Okay, Mrs. Boney,
Yes.
Mr. Severcek,
No.
Mr. Arner,
No.
Mr. Lukasevich,
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
No.
Thank you.
Next item, the controller, Mr. Severcek.
Okay. Before I make my motion, I just want to make a few comments. I could follow Commissioner Arner's reasoning on the 6%, thinking that won't help the situation. However, I disagree with that because of the almost 40-year high of inflation hitting all of us as workers and citizens of Carbon County. Also, along with that reasoning, each year we've been tasked with considering a across-the-board increase, which I believe Commissioner Arner had voted for every year the last 3 years. So I'm a little confused as to how the reasoning is different for this consideration of the 6% versus the annual 3% that have been passed the last 3 years by the majority of the salary board. Sitting on the salary board, I guess I have a little more knowledge and information than a lot of other elected officials. And when I got here 3 years ago, I could certainly instantly recognize the wide disparity of pay and the very low pay of many, many employees in the county. I think when the pandemic hit, it really affected all of us, and I think the days are gone when the county is going to be able to attract and retain people at lower pay levels. It's just, I don't see it happening anymore. My office is a good example. I had a gentleman retire last year, one of the higher paid positions in the county. The county manager was successful in finding a replacement. Now, 13 months later, he's leaving me because he's getting 40% more in the private sector. So it's hitting everybody, not just the lower paid people, but higher paid people as well. So I don't have a specific answer, but I think the 6% that we were considering is a stopgap measure to help the situation with hopefully helping some retention efforts and to perhaps also minimize some of the turnover that we've all been experiencing. Thank you. So my motion is to change the rates and salaries of the Controller's Office and Fiscal Data Processing effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit R2.
Second.
Discussion.
Let me make a quick
Yeah, go
statement
ahead.
here. If you look on today's agenda again, we have another resignation at the Communications Center. We're getting seriously low on dispatchers. We don't have the staffing for major incidents we once had. We don't have and have trouble retaining, and I know this is a big issue with you, Mr. Arner, is the part-time or not dependable. We are getting critically low, and this is public safety. You know, and I would consider some of these other decisions on offices could be considered dangerously low and not conducive, especially with children and youth and some other offices. So I just want to caution this board as well that, you know, when it comes to public safety and that and providing services, sometimes we just have to step up to the plate.
All right, so let me clarify. Mark, what is the current budgeted amount of salaries for your office?
I don't have that with me.
Okay, what is the impact of your proposed 6% increase on the overall budget of the county or your department?
Just a quick calculation, I believe it's about 4,500 a year.
4,500? As controller, you're about 200% off from my calculations. So are you asking the Board of Commissioners to commit funds that are not available and that have not been budgeted for to support your office's request for a pay raise?
Yes, the same as we did for the courts.
For the same as you did for the court, same as you did for the court. Now, I want to clarify that item number 5, change the rates of salaries for the clerk of courts. This salary board voted no to a 6% increase. Is that a correct understanding of that vote?
Just for one position, correct?
No, R1, what did R1 consist of? Just that one?
Just the first deputy?
What did it, Dawn, could you clarify?
R1 was the full complement within her office.
So
It was
again,
a position.
so here we're gonna have hypocrisy, do I understand? So every other motion going forward?
We already had discrimination because my office was voted no for the COLA.
Well, that's my point right there.
So prepare for a lawsuit because it will be coming.
You know, I'd also say this adds to the fact that that office was initially left out of the conversation. The fact is, I see
Yes, it
the
was.
coroner has been left out of this conversation. I do believe individuals such as even the tip staff may have been left out of this. So it's really problematic, even moving forward to consider. That's all I have.
Okay, any further comments? I'll call for the vote. Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Next item, District Attorney. Attorney Greek?
Thank you. I have a motion to change the rates and salaries of District Attorney's Office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit R4.
Second.
Discussion. Mike, what is the current budgeted amount of salaries for your office?
Don't have that off the top of my head.
What is the dollar impact of what you are proposing on either your department or the overall budget of the county?
We've had one position unfilled, that was the temporary the part-time clerical staff that I wasn't able to fill for quite some time. However, if we're getting down that road, since I've seen already the questions that you've already asked, I disagree with the solicitor's opinion on that you are unable to make any of these changes. I believe you can change what you have budgeted from other different funds that you have there, just like we're able to do that within the funding of our budget, where you're able to move funds around. So that argument is not there. I'd like to point out, because I wasn't making a statement before this, that I came to this salary board with a salary study. We've been waiting on one, but I had my own. From every district attorney's office of the same size and class as ours, as well, due to our caseload, of those that are larger than ours. And I submitted those, and I submitted them at a certain level, consistent with those other ones. And it was knocked down, it was knocked down, and it was knocked down. So now I'm here today to get something across the board and to get that to everybody. I'm still sitting in an office that I can't work out of. I have disgruntled employees, so I'm joining with the rest of the county in what's being filed here today. That's what I have to say.
Mike, the question that was asked of the solicitor was not if funds could be moved from one line item to the other. It was if the salary board had the authority to commit the Board of Commissioners to exceed its budget. So he is
Okay.
correct in that question.
I agree with you.
Shifting money?
I agree,
Not a
I
problem.
agree,
Yeah.
I agree,
Yeah.
and I take that back, I agree.
And then, so just to clarify, without having the knowledge of the actual impact of what you propose, you are asking us to support a proposal without fully understanding the impact that it might have on either your department or the overall county budget.
Well, no, I wasn't prepared to address that particular issue because we did have an executive session where we were able to discuss these things, and those issues weren't brought up before, but we're gonna stand here and be thrown questions. Had I known that you were gonna direct those questions, I certainly would have been prepared in a better position to answer those questions.
Well,
But we are in, now let me finish my
Yeah, go
answer.
ahead.
We are in unique situations, given the cost of living increase that is going on currently, and to keep our employees happy with this. I obviously have to join in with everybody else that everybody's doing, because my office can't be left alone with that. And like I said, had I been granted those other increases that I sought in terms of the grading and salaries of those employees, I might not have been here today or joined in any of this.
Mike, so you're seriously saying if you were sitting where we're sitting here and I was in that position, you wouldn't ask me what the impact of what you're requesting is?
Commissioner Lukasevich, I would have done that at the executive session. What was the point of having an executive session to discuss these things prior to coming here?
Well, the
Or
fact is,
informing me that you were gonna ask that sort of question, so I could have been prepared with that answer.
the expectation is you do due diligence and do your research.
And we do that when we sit down with the budget, we sit at an session and we go over everything that we have there so these situations move forward. But if you wanna grandstand and ask questions to make me look like I don't know what's in my budget because I wasn't prepared to be here, so be it.
I want to ensure transparency
there's
because you and your fellow row officers are asking for a half a millage point increase on the county taxpayers.
Okay.
So they need the right, they have the right to know that impact at the department level, the county level.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Are we prepared to vote? What's up? Attorney Greig,
Yes.
Mr. Severcek,
Yes.
Mr. Honor,
No.
Mr. Lukasevich.
No, I won't be a hypocrite.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Prothonotary, Semmel.
Good morning. Change the rates, salaries of the Prothonotary office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed in Exhibit R5.
Second.
Discussion. Caleb, what is the current budget amount of salaries in your
I think we're
office?
getting a little redundant here with the questions, and I think
no.
it's unfair to the, you're gonna get the same answer from the rest of the
Well,
offices.
let's hope not. Let's hope not. I mean, we had, I think, Tyra at least implied she had it. She talked numbers. 3 didn't. I have the right.
Okay.
You are grandstanding, by the way, but I do
Well,
have an
you
answer
can
for
call it what you want.
Yep, I do have an answer, even though
Good.
that you had that opportunity to ask me in the executive session. I will echo what our
Okay,
DA
so
said.
now you're parroting the DA.
However, it is $1,683 is my budget.
For salaries.
Correct.
And what impact would the 6% increase have on the remainder of the budget?
The salaries for the year that I'm asking for comes to $8,161.40.
Okay, but you still are asking us to support an increase that may exceed the current budgeted amount for the 2022 budget?
Well, in my particular office, I've taken cost-saving approaches, so
Yeah.
we will have a surplus in this budget, the same
Right.
as Tyra, for the end of this year.
So you can take it out of high, basically, for the remainder of the year.
Correct, we will have a budget. However, moving forward, it does impact the taxpayers.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any more comments? Call for the vote. Mrs. Semmel,
Yes.
Mrs. Severcek,
Yes.
Mr. Honor,
No.
Mr. Lukasevich,
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Public Defender, Attorney Levy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna try to keep this brief. I'm gonna have to make the motion a little bit different than the others because part of the motion deals with my salary, so for that portion, I'm not going to include that.
Yeah.
I am gonna make a motion though to change the rates of salaries in the public defender's office. Besides my specific position as chief public defender effective September 1st, 2022 is listed in R6.
Second.
Discussion. So Paul, do you know the current amount that you have budgeted for salaries?
I think it's around, if I'm correct, around 300,000.
Yeah.
That's off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What about the impact that what you're proposing might have on your department or the county budget?
The calculations that I have, without the increase in my salary, is approximately, and I could be off,
Yeah.
$16,700.
Yeah, that's kind of in the ballpark where I was at on that. Thanks. Yeah. All right, thanks, Paul.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Attorney Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
And again, I don't know what to do with regards to my salary, because I didn't include it in my motion. I didn't feel it was appropriate for me to raise that portion of the motion.
I'll make the motion to increase the public defender, chief public defender's office to 6% like everyone else.
With the exception of the clerk of court staff, of course.
Correct.
Second.
Mark, was that you?
Yes.
And this is for the chief public defender?
Yes.
Attorney Levy? You're gonna
I have
abstain?
to abstain.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm making my notes here. Okay. Next item. The Recorder of Deeds Office. Mrs. Gentile.
I'd like to make a motion to change the rate salaries of the Recorder of Deeds Office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit R7.
Second.
Discussion. Donna, what is the current amount of your current projected budget for salaries this year? Do you know?
I'm not prepared with that figure.
All right. How about the impact of what you're proposing, the 6% for the remainder of the year?
Approximately 7,600.
Yes, 600. Thanks. All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, call for the vote. Mrs. Gentile.
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item is the Register of Wills. Mrs. Pepe?
Good afternoon. I'd like to change the rate, I'd like to make a motion to change the rates and salaries of the Register of Wills Clerk of Orphans Court Office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit R8.
Second.
Discussion. Gene, what's the current budgeted amount of salaries for your office?
Approximately $67,000.
In the Register of Wills?
Yes. Clerk of Orphans Court.
What's the impact of your proposed 6% increase for the remainder of the year on the department or county budget, do you know?
Around 4,200.
So you're asking us to commit funds potentially above what has been budgeted for this annual budget to support that request?
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll call for the vote. Mrs. Pepe?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Okay, next item, the Treasurer's Office. Mr. Zelinka.
Hello, good morning. I'd like to make a motion to change the rate salary of the Treasurer's Office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit 9R.
Second, discussion. Yeah, I didn't know if someone was just one. Yeah, Kevin, do you mind the current budget amount for salaries in your office?
I don't have that with me at this time.
Yeah. What about the impact of what you're proposing on the existing remaining budget?
Yeah, not at this
No?
time.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? I'll call for the vote. Mr. Zelinka?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Sheriff's Office? Sheriff Ziegler?
Good afternoon. I have two motions this morning.
The first motion is to change the rate salaries of the sheriff's office effective September 1st, 2022, as listed on Exhibit R10.
Second.
Discussion. Dan, do you know the current budget amount for salaries for your office?
I do not have that exact figure. I wouldn't want to misspeak.
Yeah, what about the impact of what you're proposing on this year's budget?
Yeah, Commissioner, without the exact figures, I
Yeah.
know that for the better part of this year, we've had 5 open positions,
Right.
which recently were filled. By not filling those, there's a cost savings, and that the requests for the amount for these salaries are well below what that savings was. But again, I don't have an
Yeah.
exact figure
No.
for you, and I wouldn't want to misspeak.
Right, no, that's good. So basically use what wasn't spent but had been budgeted to kind of cover it for the remainder of
Yes,
the
sir.
year. All right,
Yes, sir.
thanks.
Question, do you have any comments on the turnover in your office because of lack or the low salaries, and where are these people going?
Yes, Commissioner, particularly in the sheriff's office, what we struggle with is deputies who are already Act 120 MOPEC certified or have the ability to do so, very oftentimes leave to go to another sheriff's office in neighboring counties that pay a much higher rate, as well as to municipal police positions and state police positions. So we're constantly competing with a very small pool of people to do several different jobs that they have offers for in counties that are very close to us that pay higher. So that is constantly a struggle. We've been fortunate the last couple months to get 4 really good candidates in, leaving 1 vacancy left that we hope to fill by the end of the year. But what we're seeing with my counterparts across the state, this is not a problem that's going to go away. And as the commissioners are aware, we invest a significant amount of time, money, and effort to train these individuals, sending them to a 19-week academy or a 2-week academy. And when they come back and then go get a higher paying job, we've now lost all of that investment. I know through the collective bargaining agreement, you all will be having a meeting with the union to hopefully address some of those issues for their next contract that maybe stops the bleeding, so to speak, somewhat. But we serve the entire county. We're asked to do additional assignments to help at the lake, the parking lot, all other things like that throughout the county. When we don't have deputies to do that, that creates a situation where we may have to say no, which I don't ever want to do. I want to continue to be a resource, but that is a real problem that we continue to face.
And I wanted to point that out, that it is a major problem and a major cost to the county, as well with children and youth. Spend how many hours, and they aren't traveling like they used to, which is a cost saving, to get their certifications, get their updates and training, etc. And to spend all this time and get experience in a lot of your offices, it is a cost. And it is a great value in being able to keep a lot of our employees once they have that experience.
Glad you recognize that as well.
Any other comments? I'll call for the vote. Sheriff Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
My second motion relates to some of the other offices in terms of an anniversary increase. And that motion is to change the rate of 1 administrative assistant from $14.69 per hour, grade 9, step C, to $15.13 per hour, grade 9, step D, effective September 13th, 2022.
Motion to change the rate.
Second.
Okay. Sheriff Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr.
Point of order, he made the motion.
Yes.
So the second was, right,
I
okay.
said
Wrong.
All right, okay.
Okay. Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next item, change the rates and salaries under the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners at the Carbon County Courthouse Complex as per Exhibit A, effective September 1, 2022.
Motion to approve Exhibit A.
I'll second that with discussion. I don't think it's not much of a surprise that I'm gonna vote no on this. This young lady sits alongside of me. She works in our office. She's the secretary to the executive, and she's making $14 an hour. So I'm supposed to sit here and give her $1 when everybody else is getting more, and everybody can have their own comments, but I'm not going there. She deserves more than that. A lot of people across the county deserve more than that. And if somebody's gonna sit here and condemn me for working for the little person, that's up to you. If they wanna make comments, Amy, in the paper at me, fine. But I'm not gonna be labeled as the person that didn't pass the budget or pass these motions because I didn't care. She needs a raise, more than what she had.
But you had no motions to support those lower paying people.
Well, you know what, Wayne, when you threw this into the mix, I was surprised in the beginning of the week. You didn't give no options. You know, maybe what you should do is let other people involved in it instead of running around making your own motions. Let's take the vote.
Well,
If I may, just, I know this is out of order, but I'm involved in this, and I've been here for 4 months. I would
Okay.
ask that the increase in my salary be stricken from any motion, so.
I will amend my motion to reflect that.
I will second that.
Not that it'll make a difference.
So this will reflect, if passed, this will reflect an unfunded annual commitment going forth of just under $500,000. Of course, $500,000 not part of the budget process. Of course, for the next 4 months, it's a prorated amount, but again, it does exceed everything we have budgeted, far exceeds. That's what's available in the remaining contingency. So I have.
We'll call for the vote. Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Okay. Area Agency on Aging. Dawn, are these at the current rates without the 6%?
No, they are not. So the current rate, should I just read them for you, Ellen? Okay.
Might as well.
Under Area Agency on Aging, change the rate of one part-time senior center operator 1 from $11.38 per hour, grade 5, step A, to $11.72 per hour, grade 5, step B, effective September 20th, 2022.
Point of order. Those positions under the Board of Commissioners, that just failed. Correct? That just failed. I just want to make sure
Correct.
we're on the same sheet of music.
And she adjusted the rates to show.
So reflect that it did not pass, correct?
Yes,
All right,
yes,
thanks,
I went
Mike.
back to what the person is currently at 11:38.
Yep.
This is their anniversary because they received no increase
Perfect.
in January.
Thanks.
We have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
So the motion, what do we have the motion here for now, that it's rejected? Or is this
Yeah,
just?
This is just kind of a
Okay.
a regular change.
It was amended.
It was
Yeah.
amended
Okay.
to what they're
Yes.
currently
Yeah.
at.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Children and Youth?
Yeah, Children and Youth Services, change the rate of one administrative assistant 2 from $20.22 per hour, grades S7, step E, to $20.82 per hour, grade S7, step H, effective September 6th, 2022.
Motion to change the rate?
Discussion.
Wait.
Wait, I just saw 2 steps.
No. F? Should it be step F?
E to F.
E to F?
Yeah,
I'm
versus.
sorry, I must have misspoke. I have written down E to F, but I probably
Okay.
said it wrong.
So
I
E
apologize.
to F, yeah.
Set it on the agenda.
Okay.
It's going to be E. So the agenda is wrong.
It is wrong because this agenda was, this agenda was built, taking into consideration that a 6% increase would be approved. However, it did not, it was not approved for the departments and individuals under the Board of Commissioners. So Dawn has to reflect non-6% rates. Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, Rocky.
I think I did.
Rocky.
A second, yeah.
Second. Okay, Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Let's see if I can get it right this time. Information technology. Change the rate of one IT specialist from $14.53 per hour, grade 10, step A, to $14.97 per hour, grade 10, step B, effective September 7th, 2022.
Move to change the rate.
Second.
Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
I want to move that we simply recess versus closing out, and the purpose is so we can relook at the coroner, the tip staff, clerk of courts, and potentially the Board of Commissioners, the departments that fall under.
Second to recess for 1 week because we are looking at hiring and interviewing two positions in particular
Yeah.
that will have a salary range. I don't think it's any secret that we're probably losing both of our IT people on this side here in the process of interviewing, as well as IT and the treasurer's office as well for a position in the treasurer's office that have to, controller's office, that have to be addressed. So we will recess for 1 week.
Okay, Mr. Severcek?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this time we'll reconvene our commissioners meeting.
Okay, the next item is the personnel report for county departments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The acknowledgements for courts and row offices.
Move to acknowledge.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
There is no correspondence received. Advertising. For approval, the revised advertisement of all legal notices relative to the 2022 general election.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Boards and authorities. For approval, appointment to the Pocono County's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Development Board. Term expires June 30th, 2026. Brooke Cho, Assistant District Administrator, Office of Vocation Rehabilitation.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Children and Youth. For approval and execution, the fiscal year 2022-2023 purchase of service agreements submitted for the following providers as per the attached rates: Renaissance Psychological and Counseling Corporation of Kingston, United Children's Home of West Hazelton, Pennsylvania.
Motion approved.
Second.
Comment on this, and I see it listed as a Adelphia or something, and on the agenda, it's Renaissance.
Yeah, I believe that the agenda might have to be amended to Adelphi Village, because I believe these are the rates for Adelphi Village, not for Renaissance.
So in that case, we would need a motion to amend the agenda to
So-
correct that.
So it's actually Adelphi.
Adelphi?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
Adelphi. Okay.
That's us.
Okay, so it's your motion to amend the agenda?
Motion amend.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. But now we have to vote on that, correct? So that was for the amendment, so
Correct.
now we need a motion to approve Adelphia and United.
Yes.
Motion. I gotta do it.
Well, stand by.
Stand by.
Oh, hold on, because this is both, there's gonna have to be another amendment, because it's actually Adelphoi and United.
Yeah.
We just struck
Yeah.
United. So United is,
No, you're
Renaissance.
taking them out.
okay, yeah, we're Delphi.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
taking them out, and putting them in.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion, who's the second?
Yes, does somebody?
Mr. Arner,
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich.
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Now, this item, the needs-based plan. I'm going to ask the board to consider amending the publicized agenda.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion on that.
Second.
Mr. Arner,
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich.
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes. And at this time, can we call on Jill to maybe explain the motions we just made and the plan, discuss the plan, budget?
Yes, thank you. So our current budget for this fiscal year, which started July 1st, is $7.9 million. We're asking for a little over a 3% increase for the next fiscal year, and this is based on Act 30 of 1991, where we have to do a budget a year out. So we're asking this be ratified as far as our fiscal year starting July 1st, 2023, going to June 30th, 2024. We're asking for the increase for several reasons. One is because all of our providers have given us 3% increase overall for all the providers that we use, whether it's in-home counseling or where a child is placed into foster care or in a secure setting. So with that 3% provider increase, we're asking for that to be increased in our budget request. Also, we're going like to increase the foster home rates, as you've heard about inflation going up. Also, our foster parents are facing that difficult task, so we'd like them from $20 a day to go up to $25 a day. All of those things are included in that raise. We have seen a decrease in reports of child abuse and neglect, about 30% decrease. It is relative though, because the reports that are coming in are much more severe and substantial. We are increasing our opening rate, so when a family comes in and we investigate, and after 60 days, we find that they need more services, 20% more of those cases are being opened for services. So we're providing case management, we're providing services, we're monitoring them. Sometimes it leads into a placement. So our workers are up 20% on their reports that they are monitoring in-home. And that's a good thing. We want to monitor them in-home before we put them into placement. As mentioned before, we did have a 40% turnover in our staff in the last 3 years. It is significantly higher than all of Pennsylvania. All 67 counties are experiencing turnover at about 32% rate, so we're a bit higher than that. We did address that in this budget by having a 20% increase for all staff. And we did look at how that would impact the minimum wage being raised to $15 an hour. We'd like for all of our staff to be over $15 an hour, and that is budgeted in this budget, 20% increase. All staff being $15 an hour or over, and the staff have very much liked the 40-hour work week. So we also built that into this budget, which is why we're asking for a little over $9 million. Some of the other things that we looked at, Governor Wolf is looking for Pennsylvania to be a trauma-informed state. So we're looking to train all our staff in trauma-informed care and making sure our court staff that we have, a guardian ad litem, our dependency officer, our solicitor, all having that training as well. And also providing some more transportation and housing assistance to our families. We increased our housing by about $10,000. Any questions?
Yeah, quick question. What is the educational background for your caseworkers?
So
What's required?
to be a caseworker, one, you could be just right out of college with a bachelor's degree. Or if you have an associate's degree, you can have 2 years experience in some sort of human services field, such as aging or any other provider that provides to child welfare, and you could be hired as a caseworker 1. For caseworker 2, you must have a bachelor's degree in social services through one of the schools that offer that, or you can be a caseworker 1 for 6 months.
And I'm just trying to point out the fact that you need a bachelor's degree to get that low salary. And
Yes,
they
we
wonder
started
why we're losing people.
1602.
All right, thank you, Joe.
So for approval, the amended agenda will be Carbon County Children and Youth Services Needs-Based Plan and Budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. In-home services, $3,650,485. Community, $4,516,847. Residential, $607,249. Administration, $354,615, for a total of $9,129,196.
Motion approved and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The Correctional Facility for approval and execution. Proposal from Johnson Controls Fire Protection of Allentown, Pennsylvania, to provide the annual service to the fire pump system and control panel located at the pump house at the correctional facility for a total cost of $2,668 annually for the term of September 1, 2022 through August 31, 2023. This is Pennsylvania Contract 44000, 23,962, which represents an increase of $65.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Information Technology, we have a correction for approval and execution. Corrected proposal from Revise LLC, AKA Revise Software Systems of Troy, Michigan, for the online interactive forms module as listed in the original proposal for the website design. The proposal is a one-time setup fee of $2,450, plus an annual fee of $1,500 for the first year, $950 for the second year, $1,500 for the third year. This automatically renews each year after the initial 3-year term, and this replaces previous agenda item number 22-390 of August 11th, 2022.
Motion approved and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Insurance for ratification. Acceptance of the renewal for special risk accident coverage for county volunteers for the period of October 1, 2022 to October 1, 2023. Carrier is Gerber Life Insurance Company through the CCAP insurance program. Annual premium is $400, an increase of $60 with the higher coverage limits.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Loss prevention grant for approval and execution. Authorize the submission of an application to the Pennsylvania County's Risk Pool for the 2022-2023 loss prevention grant for equipment, licensing, and professional services to install and configure equipment to provide a new and expandable backup solution.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Planning and Development for approval and execution, revision request number 4 for the CDB Block Grant Program fiscal year 2019. Contract number 73823 for Bowmanstown Borough. This is revision number 4, fiscal year 2019. Move $3,526 from Banks Township Street Improvements to Bowmanstown Borough sidewalks, ADA handicap corners.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Fiscal year 2019 CDBG number 5 revision. Fiscal year 2019 contract number 73823 for Lansford Borough. Revision number 5, move $3,494.20 from Banks Township Street Improvements and $18,154 from Summit Hill Street Improvements to the project to Lansford Borough, the Brimble Wall replacement.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Recorder of Deeds for approval and execution. A request was received from the Recorder of Deeds for an agreement with Reynolds Business Systems of Emmaus, Pennsylvania, to convert all back-scanned files and all files going forward to PDFA format. The agreement includes conversion to PDFA, backup storage, and future maintenance at a total cost of $3,793.35. The storage and maintenance are estimated between $3,200 to $3,400 per year. This is CoStar's contract number 009 E22-082.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The solicitor's report?
Thank you. For the Area Agency on Aging, seeking approval and execution for an extension of the meal service agreement dated August 29, 2017 with Met's Culinary Management of Dallas, Pennsylvania for an additional 2 months for the term September 2nd, 2022 through November 2nd, 2022.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
On the courthouse renovation project, seeking acceptance of a quotation from Cash and Carry Electric to purchase switchboard and components for the courthouse renovation project in the amount of $68,750. This was prior CoStar's contract number 8-232. The approval motion would be expressly conditioned on Cash and Carry obtaining renewal of that CoStar's contract status.
Move to accept.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
For acceptance of a quotation from Denny Electric Supply of Pendle, Pennsylvania to purchase generators and associated equipment for the courthouse renovation project in the amount of $243,000. This is CoStar's contract 008-E22-853.
Move to accept.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
With respect to the 525 Iron Street project in Lehighton, seeking acceptance of a quotation from Denny Electric Supply of Pendle, Pennsylvania to purchase generators and ATS equipment for the 525 Iron Street Lehighton project in the amount of $83,000. This is also under CoStar's contract 008-E22-853.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
For the Emergency Operations and Training Center, seeking approval and execution of a proposal from Control Security of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania for installation of a fire alarm system at the police building to include 6 heat detectors, 11 pull stations, 7 siren strobe units, 4 strobe only units, 1 fire alarm control panel, 1 fire alarm keypad, and 7 miscellaneous wiring, conduit, hardware, connectors, and programming for a total cost of $6,472.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Comment on that, just so everyone knows that we did go out and get other price quotes. The original quote we had was well over $20,000, so we went to a local company and they did bring it down to that $6,472. Make it perfectly clear, it's not, this is for the police building. We are not gonna put fire detectors in a fire building, you know, they'd be going off all the time, so not a good thing to do, but yeah, we did manage to get that price down quite a bit in protecting that building, so.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Seeking approval and execution of a proposal from Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP of Allentown, Pennsylvania to add an electronic access control system to 6 doors at the Emergency Operations and Training Center at a total cost of $10,953.21. This is under Pennsylvania State Contract 4400023962.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Also at the Emergency Operations and Training Center, seeking approval and execution of change order number 4 to the contract with Cobalt Construction Incorporated of Tobyhanna, Pennsylvania for the Phase 1B portion of the Emergency Operations and Training Center project. This change order increases the contract by $72,433.71 for a new contract total of $2,533,373.62 due to the significant increase of the asphalt oil index from 2020 until June 2022.
Move to approve and execute.
Second with comments real quick here. And actually, this was really a blessing in disguise. They were supposed to have it done in a certain period of time, but because of the construction of the fire building in particular, with all the heavy equipment and everything, and there were several holes that had to be dug into the in and around the facility for propane line conduits. There was a mistake in the placement of a valve. They had to reverse it because we couldn't get a flow through it, etc. So, you know, it's unfortunate that, like everything else, the cost of the stone and oil and everything, the asphalt, but had we proceeded at that time, had they been allowed to do it, we'd be like a lot of streets in the municipalities where they repave it and then dig it up to put a water line in. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Okay. Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Lastly, under Parks and Recreation, the county has received a banner request for Discover Lehighton second Saturday program. The banner to be displayed September 2nd, 2022 till September 13th, 2022. And again, also indicating, I think, the Rocktoberfest program from September 23, 2022 through October 11th of 2022.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Under further business, I'm going to ask the board, would they consider to amend today's publicized agenda?
Move to amend.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
This has to do with item number 22-429 from last week's agenda, which was raising the house, a special activities agreement. This request was tabled for 1 week, and I'm asking the board, would they consider to table this for an additional 1 week?
Yeah, move the table for an additional.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Commissioners' reports, Mr. Arner?
I don't really, I think I said pretty much on what I said today. I think everybody can see that today. I think the county sort of got divided. I voted no for a reason for the commissioner's office, but at least I have something to look forward to now. I can work on our budget under the commissioners and make sure these people get a decent raise. That's what's gonna be my goal for the budget. And again, I'd like to see her get $2-3 more. You know, other people, you know, the low rate, the high rate, you know, we've been going around the whole time and giving somebody a raise here and giving somebody a raise there. And I don't have much anything else to say. I mean, I don't have an MBA, but I do have an MCS, a Master's in Common Sense. And that's what's gonna drive me. And that's what's gonna get me her decent raise. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yeah, I did note the one modification to the revise module. And that simply brings up the point, want to recognize one of our underpaid employees, and that's Nicholas Goldberg for the work that he's done over the last year plus, getting the new website up and running, carboncountypa.gov. So just, you know, hats off to Nicholas and the hard work he's been putting in with that website.
Yeah, and I think with him, I think he more or less said he never designed the website.
Right.
And it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr.
Along
Notstein?
those lines, we're certainly gonna have some big losses there as far as our IT people retiring. I think we were talked about it for some time, that should that happen, we'd be up the creek without a paddle. Well, here we are, up the creek without a paddle. The IT departments throughout the Commonwealth, and I think Chris and Rocky, I know I had conversation at CCAP and everything, and how involved the programs are anymore, and the IT are in providing the programs, because there's so many different ones from the state that we have to deal with, not too much federal, but all the different offices and programs. And again, the comm center, they're a priority. When that goes down, we have to send somebody that knows what they're doing. And, we'll probably have to do a, contract, maybe with, these retirees that it's gonna take too long. We're in the process of trying to hire, I guess, you know, I'm not sure how that interviewing is going, if it is going, but, you know, we're gonna have to depend on these people. If something goes wrong, these new people, it's gonna take them a long time to learn the or the different programs, and I know I've had conversations with the judge as well about IT. We tried to consolidate, and it's still a possibility. Instead of having 2 IT departments, they have 2, we have 4, and we still can't keep up with the work. We have many departments, and I know the sheriff isn't too happy either that programs keep getting put off, but there are priorities, and we may have to look at additional people. So with that being said, I mean, it all comes with a cost, and trying to keep up with all the things that are going on in counties. It's, if you wanna talk about the budget, what did I talk about last week? I think it was the programs for mental health in particular and not getting increases. We're the ones that have to face the public and make those increases in taxes and et cetera to make up for the lack of revenue coming from the Commonwealth or even the federal government. So we have to, you know, we have a lot of issues we're facing on a daily basis and trying to keep up with providing services and retaining personnel, et cetera. And along the IT lines first, I know Chris and I had talked about it, and I think I mentioned in front of Rocky, I think we have to look at that core program through CCAP. Another little additional, but it has to do with the security and everything else and vulnerability, and they will come in and provide training, and I think we need to move on that project as soon as possible. The only other thing I have that I would like to bring up at this time is that it has to do with financially. I have always adamant that anything for the parking lots and those expenses would coming out of the parking lot fund. But the more I think about it, why do we have to provide that parking lot? And who is coming to that parking lot? And I don't know how we can figure out, and I don't think we can figure out what percentage of those people coming into our parking lot are here for courts and paying. What is it costing us to maintain that parking lot? I know we pay for the plowing and the time the people spend, but maybe we should look at possibility of a certain percentage or an amount out of the, I don't know how, I don't think we can guess, but maybe look at using some of that towards salaries or court systems, because you have the lawyers coming in, you have people coming into court all the time. I don't know if courts would have any idea how many of those people are coming in here. I know what's happening up in our parking lot here to circumvent the paying. People are coming up here, they're paying collections, and they're coming up here and parking, taking up parking spaces we don't have, and running in and paying their bills here, and they're the ones costing us the money. So I think maybe we should look at before next meeting or sometime in the very near future of maybe offsetting our budget a little bit with a little bit of proportion coming out of that parking fund. So that's all I have today.
And just to tag a little bit on the parking there, I see it, I said, I go out of town, I gotta pay $35 a day to park some places. And our fine here to park illegally, I think is 25. Somebody's gonna park there and say, oh, I pay that in my own town. Like, I mean, there's a lot of adjustments, and I agree with Lane on that. We have to sit down and figure something out.
We all have to look at the fines, why, you know, okay, I'll pay the $15 fine, and I think it only cost me $12 to park there, so, you know, why not just pay the ticket, you know?
I think Bob and Angeli are redrafting,
They are looking at
updating
that.
the ordinance right now, so we should see it real soon, right, Bob?
Yeah, Angeli is
Yeah,
working on
yeah, yeah, she is, sorry, yeah.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, she is, so, yeah, it's a.
Yeah, and I think Amy probably recalls that we said we would do an update after implementation of the kiosk, so this is that review process that has started, you know, from the lessons learned. Yeah.
Okay. Something we all agree on for a change, so. Okay, meeting adjourned. Okay, Amy, you wanna go first?
This was a fun meeting.
Worse than annual.
Oh, sorry, time's up, let's go.
You're done.
No, I get my time now. With going back to John McArdle's request, just to clarify, it was approved to, did you abstain or vote no?
I don't know.
Either way.
I heard him say no. Yeah, I heard him say no. You know?
Okay,
I
that's
lost at the committee meeting and was told I don't have a say in it.
okay, so it was approved 2-1, okay. And on the salary board, how did all of this come up exactly here on having all the row officers start this now?
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it was like maybe thrown in front of us like a couple weeks ago. And I mean, I even look at some of the answers that I get from everybody. You know, I think Kayla, I mean, her answer, I think if we would actually have maybe a better of a discussion, you know, just throwing things together, I think Kayla, I think Jean, they realize that, you know, it's gonna affect the budget and things like that. But to get to this point, I don't know. I mean, one thing, the row officers, people got a raise. And like I said, my objective is to make sure that our people under the commissioners get a decent raise. And like I said, I'm gonna go over that, and when the salary study comes, I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna present what people should have, and maybe I'll get voted down if I wanna give somebody $2 an hour. I don't know. But I don't know how, with the row offices, with giving that much of a raise at the top, how do you fix that? I don't know. You know, we'll look into it all.
That's a good question to ask the row office, I think.
Yeah,
and the judge.
and that's what I said. Right now, my focus is in our people.
Don't get our opinion, get theirs.
You know, like I said, I voted no, but my reason was to make sure these people get a decent rate.
Amy, going back to your question, look at the first vote that took today in the salary board. Then go ahead and start tracing that vote today back, and there's your answer. Right? You know, can't be much more plain than that without giving you the answer.
Okay, in regards to just the votes, so the only offices that weren't approved as a 3-2 were the clerk of courts and controllers in the row officers, correct?
No, yeah, the controller.
Yeah,
Controller was
the
two.
controller did not
Right,
pass on.
and all departments under the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Only
then
those
the
that
tips-
have an
yeah.
elected official.
And coroners and the tip staff were not represented
Yeah.
in any of the motions.
That's true.
And that was why the motion to recess for that to be reconsidered,
Okay,
or to be considered, excuse me.
and then minus the clerk of courts, controllers, and commissioners, do you guys have a ballpark figure of how much this will now cost the county?
I think it was,
Yeah, it's gonna be,
I think it's what I said. Yeah, I think that's
That's
what it was.
without those
Yeah.
3 departments
and it's,
though?
oh, no, it's gonna be with.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So on an annual basis, and this includes Social Security, Medicare, and the retirement match, $879,506.64 on an annual, all right? That did exclude, who did that exclude? Nope, shoot, everyone's in there, yeah. And that's, you know, Rocky said about 750K, we were talking
like
a
you
half a
have-
millage point.
Yeah, you could have 310 employees one day, and the next day you could have 325.
And then you
So
have
that's
the
why-
impact of how that's gonna impact the union discussions. Which,
Yeah, because I'm sure,
you know, you're talking
like,
120 some
we're
folks.
we're negotiating some contracts right now, and I'm sure when they seen 6%, they seen the big T-bone out.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
They were asking for 9, David.
Well, they're
Yeah.
gonna be asking for a lot more than 6, so I don't know where it's gonna go.
And then moving forward, this was September, and January is coming up quickly. How are you guys gonna play into that when it comes to the
That's a
annual
real
salary?
good question. I don't think we know at this point in time, if we get that salary study by chance, will there be no raises whatsoever? Will we address those in the lower scale? I think there's a lot of questions.
And I would say there will be raises for our departments. I don't know what's gonna happen there. I mean, I'm looking at the money that was allotted on that side and the money that would, and I had a figure, I had a figure what it would cost. And it's not gonna be straightened out, I mean, they will get a raise, unless I don't get the vote.
But I think that past practice over the years, since I've been here anyway, as far as nobody was ever cut, there might be freezes at the top. And that's what happened, I think, when Ellie and, well, Dawn's not here, they get to the end of the scale and they wouldn't get any more. And we kept, we didn't slide the scale for the starting salaries enough. We should have been doing that at least every other year. We did not, to keep them starting salaries up. That was a big mistake. And I think but the overall, maybe the top ones will be froze, but some people do move to other offices for various reasons. Maybe there was a cut and pay, but then most likely that was a voluntary move. So, but I would not be in favor of any cuts, maybe freezes at the top. I agree with the percentage rates, it's not fair. I think it should be a flat rate across the board. And I know there's been discussions in the past on it, so we'll see where it goes. And again, if we get the grouping of, and try to make things more fair, maybe that's the biggest area that we'll focus on, is grouping the different positions.
That's all I have, and thank you very much.
What was the bid amount for the recon construction?
For which position?
The amount bid for the
For which one?
Mahoney Township Street.
Oh.
$222,815. Sorry.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna go for that.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah, it just depends if they meet the.
You said 223,000.
222.
222,815.
And also, is there like a list of the motions and stuff from the salary board meeting and how everybody voted?
Well, the
Well,
agenda is
next-
posted online. Next salary board meeting will approve the minutes, which would reflect the
Well,
vote.
well,
Oh.
it won't be because it's recessed,
Oh,
and
yes,
we don't
okay.
have the final.
Yeah.
So it might go until the, October meeting,
Oh, yeah.
until it gets approved, because we recessed. It'll be continued in the minutes. We don't have minutes to approve because the meeting isn't over.
Yeah.
So it might go till October.
Rewatch it on Facebook, to be honest. Rewatch the meeting. That's the most accurate way to,
That might be a big
until the
difference.
minutes are, until the minutes are approved.
Anything else?
Last week you talked about Mock Junk Lake for Labor Day weekend the beach only being open for county residents, right?
No, incorrect, and I wish you and everyone else would stop saying that, because that's not true. Mock Chunk Lake Park, right, Mock Chunk Lake Park, hiking, camping, biking, boating, renting watercraft, from our vendor there, fishing is all open to everyone. The beach, the position there was county residents, individual and family pass holders, campers, and individuals who are renting the pavilion are all welcome to the beach. Plus, students, PV, Panther Valley, who live in Coaldale. Yeah.
My question was, how are you guys preparing for the rest of the park, knowing it's a busy weekend, who knows if Beltsville overflows? How are you guys just preparing for, the extra boating, hiking, stuff like that?
Well, I would direct that to Dave Horvath, but we had a conversation, even Sheriff Ziegler even mentioned it today a little bit, but the sheriff is working with the park director to ensure coverage there, to ensure a great weekend.
Yeah, and it's improving, I don't wanna say our mistakes, but we're improving on handling the situation.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know, I said, like, Dave's been in here for meetings, the
Yep.
sheriff's been in.
Yep.
You know, it'll go fine.
Are you guys preparing to have signs to let people from out of town know the beach is closed? And how are you enforcing, I guess, them getting into the beach?
Well, again, the fact is, just like we did during COVID, as people pull into the park area, there will be someone there who will explain the current policies of entry for the beach. Also, PMVB has been assisting us, Carbon Chamber, JTTA, social media, the Pocono Mountain Visitor Bureau television station, and we've been asking again, like we did last week, for the media to help us get the word out, to as far as their reach can get.
That's all I have, thank you.
Oh, alibi.
I turned my page. On the opioid settlement fund, new account, have you guys received any money yet from that?
Should be coming in
It
today.
should be soon,
Yeah,
yeah. How it's gonna be spent yet, we still need to meet with our DNA and, the people that are gonna administer the program, we're not sure. And it's gonna be pretty heavily regulated as well, so maybe we won't have a lot of choices on what's happening.
Yeah, it's limited.
It's
to
only a
opiate.
limited opiate,
To what you can look
exactly.
for. Yeah, and there are good comments in last week's meeting, when we did the proclamation in regards to that, when we had drug and alcohol here. Yeah.
And I think now, we're probably not gonna have enough money that we wanna use, what's coming. And my issue with it is, if the choice of drugs changes off of an opioid, what happens in 10 years from now? You know, it's on an 18-year plan, so what is it gonna affect us in the next 5 to 10 years? And then you gotta go and prove that you started on an opiate and you went to this, you know, it's so many regulations with it, like we have to watch what we're spending the money on.
We do know the drug of choice now in Carbon County is meth.
Yeah.
So that 10 years down the line, you'll be addressing that issue.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, you'll have all
So
this
we'll
money
be
for
appealing
opioids.
to use it for meth.
Now, does this payment come in as installments, or is it one lump sum?
I think it's we get an installment for 18 years, but we do get 2 years.
So
I think it's 2
yeah,
years.
It's broken down,
Yeah,
I
a lump
forget
sum
the
up front,
formula,
but it's actually over an 18-year period.
Okay, thank you.
not all at once.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Is that it?
I have a question, for you, Commissioner, Notstein. The cost of living, motions that were put on the floor today, and I was the only row office that did not get your second. My employees have been texting me, asking me why are they not worthy of the motion by you to put the vote to put that motion to a vote.
I thought your other offices are, except for one position, did get those increases.
I did not get the COLA increase because it was not seconded, it died.
Well,
And I was the only office, the
That's
only
the
row
other
office
two.
that you did not second.
Well, ask the other commissioners, they're,
But you were the only one that seconded every motion. They didn't second any of them.
because nobody else would, so apparently,
So my office was discriminated against.
that's it.
Thank you.